Item 10B, receive staff report and consider ordinance repealing Chapter 4.40 massage establishments and enacting new Chapter 4.40 massage businesses.
Mr. Mayor, you get to hear me for the second of 3 times tonight. So this, however, is a completely different topic. This involves what I guess we'd refer to as the cities and the state legislature being involved in a political and legal tug of war over massage regulations and establishments since about 2008. So before 2008, cities could and mostly did regulate massage establishments to stem the tide of establishments that engaged in illegal practices. And the way they did that was they steadily increased the application fees for massage practitioners and establishments. Unfortunately, that had the effect of providing an incentive for illegitimate businesses who could pay cash to come in and pay those fees, while the legitimate businesses who couldn't were kept out of the market. So those regulations differentially affected the legitimate practitioners, who were often independent contractors. They might work at various spas, day spas, health clubs in multiple cities, and they couldn't afford the fact that all these different cities were imposing exorbitant fees on their applications. So in 2008, the state decided to adopt a new law and established an organization called the California Massage Therapy Council, CAMTC. And that organization took over licensing of massage therapists, took over some of the regulation, imposed educational standards, and also preempted city ordinances. So it reduced the ability of the city to regulate these establishments. The cities responded, pendulum swings the other direction. The cities responded by adopting bans, moratoriums, and all kinds of other things to sort of stop the legislature from implementing their plan. So in 2011, the pendulum swung the other way, and the state legislature said to the cities, fine, if you're going to do that, then what we're going to do is essentially eliminate the ability of cities to do any regulation whatsoever. The result of the pendulum swinging back and forth is that by 2012, the state had over 50,000 certified massage therapists. There was also a flood of schools, massage schools, many of which were not legitimate. In fact, if you look at the CAMTC website today, you'll find that 75 schools that massage therapists said they went to, 75 of them are decertified and have been found to either be not in existence or provide fake diplomas or have other problems associated with them. Fast forward to 2015, and the pendulum is now swung back toward the cities. The state legislature, thanks to the lobbying of mostly of the League of Cities, came up with a significant overhaul of the massage regulations. And as a result of that, the legislature restored the city's ability to impose zoning regulations on massage establishments. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But the state also had more extensive educational requirements, much more oversight, investigation of these schools. There was a completely new structure for the board of the CAMTC that now includes more law enforcement representatives from the cities, representatives from the League of Cities, and so on and so forth. So what that did is it gave cities an incentive to adopt new regulations, new ordinances. And what some cities did as of January of this year, which is when the new law went into effect, is they said, well, great, now we can put a moratorium on them. Now we can zone them in particular areas of the city so they won't bother us anymore. We can make them be a certain distance apart. We can say they can't all be concentrated in one area. One of the problems that we've discovered, though, with those regulations is while they sound good at first glance, they don't actually address a different issue, which is providing the ability for legitimate massage establishments to be, for example, in the downtown area. So a lot of successful downtowns have a day spa or have a health club, and those places might employ massage therapists, legitimate massage therapists. So zoning doesn't really allow you to distinguish from the legitimate establishments from the illegitimate ones. So San Mateo County tried a different approach, and that's the approach that we're recommending that you look at this evening. Their approach was, they said, let's adopt a uniform ordinance that complies with the new state law. We'll make it as strict as we possibly can. But what we're going to do is encourage all the cities on the peninsula in San Mateo County to adopt the same or substantially similar ordinance. And then what we'll do is we'll implement a county-wide enforcement scheme to shut down illegitimate businesses. In other words, forget about whether they have the light bulbs the right color or the lockers not this or that, all these sort of minor infractions that cities were trying to go after establishments for. They don't really care about those things. What they really care about is making sure that, frankly, there isn't prostitution or other kinds of acts occurring at these businesses. So if all the cities and the county were to have the same or similar ordinance, it would be possible for the county and the cities to get together in joint enforcement efforts and then shut these businesses down. That would also allow the county and the cities to use multi-jurisdictional undercover operations, which is now more difficult to do. And so that was one of the important aspects of it. Each entity would also establish sort of a unique feature, and that's what's the main difference between the ordinance we're asking you to look at tonight and what we have on the books currently. And here's the feature. It's a review board that would act on the revoking or suspending licenses for massage parlors that engage in illegitimate activities. Up until now, what's happened is that we've been relying on the district attorney's office to prosecute these cases. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes the individuals engaging in these acts aren't really seen as criminals. They're seen as victims because of human trafficking. So unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of ways to go after the business because of an individual who's engaged in inappropriate practices. What the current ordinance would do is it would set up a review board at the city constituted by the police chief, community development director, and finance director that would act on revocation hearings instituted by a designee of the police department. So if there was a sting operation and they found that some activity was occurring that was illegitimate, a representative in the police department could say, your license is revoked. That could be appealed to this review board, and that would be the final appeal. If the individuals wanted to have further recourse, they'd have to go to court. So San Mateo County has actually they've reported very good success in shutting down permanently a number of massage establishments that have engaged in illegal conduct, even when there isn't any criminal court action that they have to rely on. And that's a very useful thing to be able to do. So tonight's item is really just for discussion and direction, but we've given you an ordinance that is the uniform ordinance that the county would like all cities to adopt. The staff report in the packet contains a really detailed fact sheet from the CAMTC outlining all of the changes in the new law, and I won't bore you with those details. But this ordinance is similar to the ordinance we had adopted before, except for the creation of that appeals panel and giving it the authority to shut down businesses if there's a documented instance of illegitimate conduct, a violation of state law or the ordinance. One of the other good things that the ordinance does by being uniform is allows this coordinated effort between the cities and the county to have undercover operations that can just simply identify which business are engaging in illegitimate conduct and then move to shut them down. And what that prevents is businesses from shopping from one city to another, right? Shut down in one city, go to the next city that might have, by chance, more lenient regulations. So a couple of other cities are already adopting, I think you might have read in the paper, South San Francisco and Burlingame are taking their first steps to introduce and adopt these ordinances. We've heard from other cities on the peninsula that they're in favor of doing that, so this is the reason why it's coming to you this evening. The police chief does support the ordinance. He's available to answer any particular questions about how the enforcement would work. And then before I close, I just wanted to say that we did notify by mail all of the...
Something I didn't understand.
We're being taken over by Siri. I wonder if she should apply for a massage permit. We did notify all of the massage establishments and the owners of the properties that this ordinance was coming forward, so they'd have an opportunity to comment on it and be here if they wish. We haven't received any comments yet. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mark? Ken?
That was my only concern, is that I know there are legitimate operations in this city, and, and they're coupled with like chiropractors and health wellness establishments. So as long as they're abiding by, the current statutes, then they should have no problem.
That's right.
It's the establishments that are trying to do illegal activity under the disguise of a massage.
Right. That's right. And one other thing I did forget to mention is the CAMTC voiced their support for the county's uniform ordinance. So they've already vetted it and said, yes, that's great. That's the direction we think you should go in.
Any more questions for Mark? Are you looking for an introduction of the ordinance?
No, tonight's really discussion and direction. If you indicate that you want us to bring it back, we can do so for introduction at the next meeting and then adoption.
I say bring it back, yes? Yes. Okay, bring it back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great.